And welcome back! So are you already curious about which synthesizer was which? If you still want to participate, you can watch the 2 videos with the sound examples before you continue to watch this video. Thanks again for the many comments here on YouTube and especially on sequencer.de, where the topic was discussed lively. But before getting to the resolution, a few words about my motivations and why I'm doing this in the first place. I'm still looking for the ultimate polysynth for my setup. And since I used to own a few of those old Rolands myself, the announcement of the boutique JX-08 triggered me right away, since I'm a big fan of the JX-8P. So I ordered it right the day it was announced, and then I had to wait over 3 months for it. In the meantime, this JX-8P found its way to our studio rather by chance, and we were all thrilled by its analog magic right away. And that also I didn't want to buy any vintage synthesizers anymore, and had already decided in advance for all the conveniences of a modern device. And so far I had a lot of fun with all those clones from Korg and Behringer. Furthermore, there is no need to discuss prices of vintage gear. More than 3,000 euro for an old Juno are completely exaggerated for a former entry-level synth. As nice as the sound might be, and as much as I want my old Juno 60 back. So I decided to give the JX-08 a fair chance. After I had rather expensive polysynths like the Xerxes, the Super 6 and the Polybrut here lately, I found it also interesting to see what the budget area has to offer. And of course the temptation was great to make this comparison video out of it. If you want to know what I really did not like with the JX-08, check my synth rant from last week. How it does in terms of sound and how it compares to the original, that's what I want to talk about here now. Overall, the JX-08 sounds very decent. But if you know old analog synthesizers and have played them often, you will quickly realize that the sound is broader, less direct and more hi-fi-like. From there, many, especially analog experienced users in the sequencer.de forum and here on YouTube were right. While die-hard boutique and VST users outed themselves with a preference for the broader hi-fi sound. That's not a bad thing, though. And begs the question, who does this bother anyway? Me? Nope. Because I have fortunately an original standing here. And if I couldn't make the direct comparison, I wouldn't necessarily know how much the 2 devices differ from each other sonically. This is not specially due to the raw waveforms, but rather to the synthesis structure and a very different scaling of the sound parameters, such the envelopes. Therefore, it is very difficult to recreate the original presets halfway through to the original. And I find that a bit of a shame. Because after all, this product promises quite explicitly that it comes close to the original. Because Roland has also cheated. If you go through the presets of the JX-8P and compare them to the sound list of the JX-08, you will notice that many sounds are simply missing. And these are characteristically always the sounds where sync and crossmod is in play and carries the character of the sound. In the second part you can hear this very well, where I tried to recreate the preset Sync Cluff. I tried to recreate it parameter by parameter, but at some point I gave up because it was no fun. So here already quite a big shortcoming compared to the original JX. Because sync and crossmod are the salt in the soup with this rather well-behaved synthesizer. The second is the chorus. This exposes itself in the boutique with epic, almost schmaltzy width. This is not how the chorus sounds in the original. Here the sounds just gets fatter when you activate the chorus and loses none of its analog directness. And this makes mixing easier. In addition, Roland has directly programmed Reverb into the alto presets, which of course does not exist in the original either. These factors combined lead to the fact that classic sounds like the soundtrack or the low strings simply do not sound like analog synthesizer, but rather like sampled sounds from a JV-80. Would not surprise me if you can get them so with the new JD-800 clone, but I won't test it this time, for sure. Instead, I'll give you a little hint for such sound comparisons. Pay attention to things like low-end, mid-range presence and aliasing in the pure waves, and think about which attributes are mostly attributed to analog synthesizers. Soft, warm, round, dense, harmonic, and so on and so on. What one feels more pleasant or to be better at this moment, due to the personal imprinting, influences the judgment. Sometimes even against all logic. Self-fulfilling prophecy also plays a major role in here. But with a bit of cool analytics, you get to the bottom of it. And over time, you'll notice certain parallels in this kind of game. To my ears, they are all audible and in the best way also tangible reasons why many of us swear by analog synthesizers. If you haven't been able to make such a comparison yourself, it's really not easy to convey it. And I can only recommend everyone to try it out on their own body. They are really synthesizers that cause goosebumps or even raise the hair on the back of your neck. And this is always my personal benchmark. And the JX-8P is definitely one of them. The JX-08, unfortunately not. My Juno 60 clearly had it. The soft screeching sync sounds from the Monopoly, the Sunsyn, old Oberheims and Prophets anyway. The Polybrut, for example, did not arouse any particular emotion in me in this regard. The Super 6 and the Xerxes rather did. The Matriarch is a number of its own, and even the small vocoder from Behringer and the Carp Odyssey have it. The rest is just discussions a la "you can't hear it in the mix" of the famous League of Morons, which Espencraft chalks up so nicely. Sure, something will almost sound so similar or almost identical, but do you really want that? And what does it do to one's own creativity? These disputes lead nowhere. I'm right there with him. And fatally, as is so often the case with too many good things, you very quickly get used to the better and more pleasant one. It's just like wine. But now, finally to the resolution of our blind tasting. So concentration and listen carefully. Hopefully you are not too disappointed and keep us faithful by subscribing to our channel. Soon there will be a detailed video about this JX-8P equipped with a special V-Kurven pulse width modulation mod. So stay tuned. See you soon. Peace.